How many of you guys have seen this? Okay. This actual...
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick breakdown, and then I think show and tell is a must, and then get people engaged, and then we can...
Yeah, I'll pass it
naturally,
around.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk about sort of platforms and creating content for those platforms and authenticity. And the biggest thing I'd like to bring up is who's making that, how are they making that? And with an increasing user-generated content world out there, if we can put stuff in people's hands that they can actually create good content versus just a bunch of crap, that's really important for brands and everybody combined. So the new iPhone obviously shoots 4K, which is a huge deal. We did talk a little bit about how 4K, and Greg will get into that, is maybe not where it could be yet, but it's on its way, right? So 4K is cool no matter what. You can shoot everything and you can share it right from this platform right here. So we're seeing this world where things are increasingly being shared faster, shorter times, and all that type of stuff. So basically, we created this case that we're calling the CS1, which stands for Cinematic Smart Case. So you take your phone, stick it in here, much like an old Super 8 camera. So it's sort of a page out of the history book, stylish and things like that. We just have a beta app that we're using right now, but launched the beta app, and it's using a series of mirrors and magnification to then deliver that to your eye here. So you can press.
And you look cool. You look like Dave Cioni or Greg Stone back in the day.
Right, right.
And you actually need a beard to use it.
You do. Okay. It's required.
Duly noted.
It's required. And we heard Nick talk a little bit about kind of that push back on technology a little bit. So that's sort of our idea around this is like, okay, it's analog, but it's using the future technology. So you can just press and hold to record and let go to stop. And our app, we're actually partnering with Vimeo. There's been quite a bit of Vimeo bashing, but we like Vimeo, especially as filmmakers. We rally behind Vimeo more because, if anything, YouTube feels very non-authentic to people who are filmmakers, and Vimeo feels much more that way. But the idea is that you press and hold to shoot a clip, and you let go, and what it's going to do is it's going to automatically dump into a timeline. So every time you click and hold and let go, you're creating an edit already for yourself, lay down some music, put it out to share. So sort of assisting people in creating content easier, better, because we all know that users don't necessarily create the best content out there. So
can I ask what the impetus was the early inspiration?
Yeah, so we're a production company, agency that does a lot of work. We film with Reds and all sorts of the big cameras, but when we were on set, we really noticed that our followers were more interested in the behind-the-scenes content and the stuff that we were actually doing, which we realized we started doing with iPhones because it was easier to share. And so, sort of like the DSLR revolution where there's these new prosumers, we're going to see everybody is now a prosumer because the camera in their pocket is just as good. So we kind of thought, like, all right, we use these big cameras, we like making commercials, but what about everybody else? And so, the reason for the Super 8 body is because Super 8s are just kind of cool.
I knew there was a shift when I went to a Grant Britton iPhone photography exhibit. I'm like, okay, the shark has been officially launched over, and now we're on to the next.
Right, totally. Yeah. And with platforms like Instagram, where I think when it first came out, it actually made some photographers kind of angry because it gave the people this ability to make photographs that were pretty cool.
What they were saying, you remember the death before digital. They were adamant that we are not going to go digital.
Right. So we're sort of seeing, instead of kind of like fighting that, we'd rather adopt that and go with the trends of things and say, okay, guys, if you guys are going to shoot with your iPhones, let's at least make it better. And let's give you that ability to see in bright light with the viewfinder, and let's make interchangeable lenses so you can swap, shoot long shots and short shots and all that type of stuff. And we're working on our beta, but down the line, the app will have all the controls here. So if I wanted to pull a focus, I can focus further by pressing and sliding along here, focus closer by pulling back, change the exposure by pressing up and down, and all sorts of kind of like touch.
And that'll be your app, or is that Vimeo's app?
So we're creating the shooting app, and our shooting app just directly works with Vimeo's editing app, which is called Cameo. So our app, you'll shoot, and then when you want to edit, it'll flop into Vimeo's app, which is Cameo.
Can they get their hands on it?
Yeah, I'm going to pass this around. And all you guys need to do is, like, if it turns off, you just slide it up just like you'd unlock, and the Luminati app's already out there. So,
do you think technology can help people tell a story as well? I mean, does Cameo help
yeah,
storytelling?
I think with this idea that you're shooting clips, like giving person a trigger, for instance, is you're not going to end up with hours and hours of shaky footage because you're going to deliberately go take that shot. And you're going to say, all right, here's my shot, let it go, and it's going to dump into that timeline. So it kind of assists people in telling a quicker story and a better story around something. As well as the cloud technology behind it is pretty awesome, where if you guys even shoot right now, any shot that you take is going to go directly to Denver to all my partners and editors and stuff who could just start editing it right away. So that kind of ability to shoot and it's immediately content that somebody can get and share.
Expand on the live streaming and the new platform aspect of it.
Sure,
Because there's been a lot of talk about everything from Periscope to Meerkat and to some challenges, but some huge opportunities.
Yeah, live streaming's interesting. I mean, Periscope, like I've been saying this, it feels a little chat roulette-y still, if you guys feel my vibe there, where you're like...
Party line?
You're not really sure what might happen, which is always cutting. I mean, you know, that's the beginning of any kind of platform or technology. With ours especially, we're wanting and thinking that we're going to see experiences where you may be watching some Action Sports X Games or something like that on your TV, and you're seeing the broadcast, you're seeing the ESPN version, but on your tablet, or your iPhone or whatever, you might want to go see different perspectives. So it's kind of like this idea that, oh, I want to go live into the crowd, or I want to go live on board, or I want to go live here for this secondary experience, in which we think, you know, imagine at Coachella, if you could bounce around users' feeds. Snapchat is definitely tapping into that a little bit, as far as like providing that content live and right up there.
I mean, it does, I mean, like it's in its infancy, but in terms of bringing a truck and, you know, getting the bird up and what you used to have to do to have the live aspect, and then to literally put it in the hands of anybody. It's scary and inspiring all in the same breath.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And for, you know, brands to this idea that, you know, they could you know, send out our cases to their biggest users and things like that, and then have this ability using the cloud to gain access to their content and edit their content without ever having to interact with them ever again is pretty cool.
I wish I could be like Oprah right now, like, you get an Illuminati, you get an Illuminati. You know, I wish. I can't be that.
Yeah, and you know, like, the future for us is you know, that's just prototype number one, and people definitely
so that's not a
are
gift.
digging it.
That's wrong of
yeah,
me to think
well,
that.
only you get it,
Okay.
right? And then you know, in the future, we want to make waterproof ones, and we want to play around with what those capabilities are, you know, with the platform like an iPhone. Using the iPhone as the brain. I mean, there's millions of developers all across the world right now that would just love to create something for that, you know, so, yeah.
Scott, I want to ask you about, in terms of being efficient, you definitely have some great insight about being efficient in the space, collecting, producing, and distributing the content. There's, you know, when you write it down and you get your checklist, it sounds easy, but it seems like a lot of mistakes are still being made.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I founded encoding.com, it was pre-iPhone, and that meant that video needed to get transcoded for distribution to a wide audience in Flash in a couple formats. And today, a professional broadcaster will transcode or process their video into 15, 18 different formats to get it out. And the landscape is a complete mess right now. It's reminiscent, we were talking about yesterday, of the VHS and Betamax war. This is like a World War version of that. That was like a high school skirmish where you have major providers like Adobe and Microsoft and Google and Apple all standing behind major video formats, and no one's really backing down. And so it means that there's this ton of fragmentation and a lot of work to try to get the video that you shoot there into the right format and codec and size to distribute everywhere.
Does one challenge stand out as being the biggest hurdle? I mean, do you see hope a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for a company like mine because where there's confusion, you know, there's you know, reaching out for assistance. But I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. There's some big kind of watershed moments that are going to happen, I think, when the next major codec. Everyone's familiar with H.264 or throws around MP4 files around. That's the H.264 codec that's been around for a long time. There's a battle now on who's going to own the next format, if that's going to be Google and this format called VP9, or it's going to be H.265, and who pays the royalties. And that's the real barrier that needs to be decided before 4K television or 4K video format really makes its kind of debut to viewers.
Why all the focus on 4K? It seems like everyone, that is the shiny toy. That
it's the natural progression, I think. You know, I remember a lot of people fighting that, you know, there's no real HD content. Why do I need an HD TV? 4K televisions 3 years ago were 25 grand. Now they're $500. So the kind of playback side is handled, and the content creation side is handled. Now an iPhone creates 4K. It's just this last piece where who decides how it's going to play out from a kind of back-end infrastructure of it. And you know, Apple's a big component of that, right? Everyone follows Apple. They only have 15% market share of smartphones in the market, but 65% of video plays today are on Apple. So even though Android's 80%, it's a fragmentation of Android, and no one really watches video as a generalization, but no one really watches video on the Android. So as soon as Apple decides, okay, what's going to do the 4K format, I think a lot of people will follow, and HEVC or H.265 is kind of my bet for where that's going to go. That's actually live today on the iPhones that everyone has from a silicon level, so the hardware supports it, and it's used for FaceTime. Now it's a function of them just kind of opening it up to distribution.
Yeah, it's interesting, the 4K, you know, the reason why we invented that camera was so that people could share on social, you know, faster
Sure.
and do that type of stuff. But, and we talked earlier, a few people were talking about how keep it native to that platform, but when you upload something to Facebook, it degrades it, and like there's no way Facebook can actually take 4K footage. So, you know, we find ourselves just using 4K to punch in and actually still just create HD, and it gives you kind of a range of things. But you know, that alone, this idea that you can shoot a 4K film on my camera there, but then you upload it to Facebook and it just looks like crap, is, you know, there's huge strides that need to be made sort of on this encoding side before we can even really tap into some of this stuff. So.
Greg, you seem pretty clued in when it comes to what's next. I mean, and we've been talking a little bit about that, and you went into detail about what you think is the next bet. I mean, if you had to help out some of the content providers, you know, where they should be at least inching towards, what would you say?
You know, I think that it's a fragmented landscape. You know, there's another battle going on, which is who's going to own connected televisions, right? So that's Amazon, Netflix, Roku, Apple TV. That's a pretty fierce battle as well. And what I think is an interesting opportunity from an action sports perspective is distributing content to those specific channels. You know, you see this a little bit more mature with Apple, and they're going to start democratizing it. It used to be stuff that was curated. Okay, Apple TV was Netflix, HBO, and a couple other things. Now it's much broader. It has a Red Bull channel, has a Wall Street Journal channel. That's going to be democratized really fast. At the same time, connected television is growing. So I think there's an opportunity to kind of bypass, from an action sports perspective, bypass the broadcasters altogether and work on strategies to get content directly to some of these connected television channels. And you know, there's some back-end plumbing, you know, format stuff that I talked about earlier, which is necessary, but really the end goal of finding out where your audience is, and if they're unplugged from cable, I think is a huge opportunity, because the first person that can get to some of these channels on the first page is going to have a tremendous advantage.
Are either of you? Have you guys cut the cable yet? Are you?
Yeah,
still paying?
I
No?
don't. No way.
Still for sports.
Yeah.
They haven't quite nailed sports yet, but they're getting close. They're getting close.
Yeah, I can't afford it.
The beauty of startups. Who's got the camera? I'd love to hear what you guys think so far. Any feedback, you guys?
Awesome.
Yeah?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big thing with us, is a lot of people see it online and they think, oh, that's a toy, but when you really feel it's got a real lens, it's heavy, it's got some oomph to it. And we've learned a lot from Prototype 1, and actually Prototype 2. Right now, Prototype 1, when you press the button, it's actuating the volume buttons, which we all know starts to record. but we're switching that concept, and we're actually going to go through the headphone jack because we want to bring a microphone to the front. So we didn't address the idea of audio in the first one, but in the second prototype, there'll be audio in the front, and think of it almost like a pair of earbuds. You know, when you plug it into your iPhone, you can answer your phone calls or change songs or turn the volume up, and this is a microphone, this little piece on the headphones there. So that's kind of the technology we're using going forward on that stuff. So
I wasn't here for the Vimeo bashing, but you said that
we got
Vimeo is
for.
more authentic. Why do you? I agree, actually, but why do you think so?
Yeah, well, in terms of filmmaking and definitely action sports and things like that, YouTube definitely has this commercialized sort of thing to it where it feels
This
junky.
kind of commercial
There was
glitz
some
to
talk
it.
earlier
Yeah.
about how garbagey the player is, and yeah, it's terrible, right? So that's why we're partnering with Vimeo, is because we believe in filmmakers and them as a community, and Vimeo's really crafted that out, and people who rally behind the same ideas, create great content, and YouTube just has that gross feeling. So there's nothing about, I believe that YouTube definitely is a better platform if you want to do your
For
viral,
distribution
and you
of
want to
video.
do all that
Yeah.
type of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you really are looking to create great cinematic type content, you're a filmmaker, Vimeo all the way.
It's like the IFC home.
Yeah, totally.
Action sports. Okay.
Totally. If you called yourself a filmmaker and you had it on YouTube, there'd be a little bit of a question going on.
And they do a
if
good
you're
job
real.
of curating
Wow.
content too, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I've
staff
noticed that.
picks and all that
Right.
type of stuff.
Smart.
They care about the quality and the image that they're
It's interesting though because from a technical perspective, it's really identical.
And actually,
I mean, it's
YouTube's better.
yeah, right. I mean, in terms of compatibility, but it's interesting how, just an aesthetic causes you to feel like
Definitely.
more affinity
Right.
towards that.
Versus beta and VHS, there was a vast
real
difference.
difference.
Yeah, and one
Right.
was way less superior,
Right.
Sure.
yet it lost.
Right. Blu-ray, HD video.
I have a Laserdisc if you want it.
Do you have Star Wars on your Laserdisc?
Mid condition, no, and Xbox 360, first generation.
And I think Vimeo, our thing, just the shape, and you can't imagine somebody kind of with this super hipster tool
Right.
shooting to
There's
YouTube.
probably a lot of beards at Vimeo. Too,
There's,
I bet.
oh yeah. I went there. I visited them. It's just a beard. Yeah.
Perfect.
Nobody works.
Yeah. Question?
Yeah, you'll be able to use the exposed screen to zoom. So with the new 3D touch on the iPhone, with the Force Touch, the different pressures do stuff. So you'll be able to slide to focus, tap hard, then you'll be able to change the exposure, tap harder, and you'll be able to zoom. So there's like 3 different sort of modes of that.
Right.
And you.
It's going to be digital zoom. I'm not going to use it. You can use telephoto lenses on it, if you'd rather do that.
Why don't you make a telephoto lens on it?
We can explore that world when we get there.
I think
yeah.
you mentioned those were commercial lenses, right? So they could, in theory, be
so,
swapped out?
Yeah, we're in this world where we're getting a lot of people say, well, why can't I use my Canon lenses? Why can't I use my Nikon lenses with this thing? And, I say, yeah, why not? We'll try to figure that out for you guys. But another answer to that is Sony makes the camera that's in the iPhone, and so Sony makes Zeiss lenses, and they're going to get to this point really quickly where they're understanding, oh, let's make lenses for the iPhone. And your Canon lens, yeah, you could use it for that, but that's really not our market for this thing in the first place. The market for the CS1 is to get your everyday user to create better content. And you guys out there who are already creating great content, just keep doing it with whatever platform you want. That's kind of our goal.
General questions, you guys, or input, feedback, complaints? Yes.
Is it going to be a battery support?
Yeah, so we, in the future, definitely are looking into lining the thing with battery so that you can have extra battery when you stick it in there. A lot of people have asked about, well, what about your space on your iPhone? And the cloud is the answer to that. You can shoot an entire day's worth of content. It'll upload to the cloud, delete all that content off your phone, and return the next day. It's funny, at Luminati, we've got so many iPhones because we've had to test all these things. So we just say, all right, yeah, unload that iPhone, put a new iPhone in, and start shooting with that iPhone. So just think of them as like our SD cards or our iPhones, sticking them in there. They're just like super duper
It's
expensive.
pretty expensive SD card. It's like buying film.
right,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. It's currently you could pre-order it for $199 right now. That's just based on competitive sort of market stuff. In the future, we do believe once we get our manufacturing and all that stuff sorted out, there'll probably be a lower version and a higher tier. Like for instance, battery and stuff like that. We'll start to create other versions as well as we've been talking to fun people like Wes Anderson who wants to do like the wood Wes Anderson version and things like that, just for like, if you are only a beard,
Wow. Yeah.
you go with that one kind of thing.
A furry one.
Yeah, right. So, we're gonna have fun with it. We see Jack White from The Dead Weather wants, he ordered 500 because he wants to make custom ones. So we really want to play with it and kind of turn it into a fun thing, pink ones and yellow ones.
All right,
And
so
Started on Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it was on Kickstarter, and
awesome.
just it kind of personalizing it a bit, sort of like iPhone Nanos have done and things like that.
Have you gotten a bad response? It's one of those things. It seems like it's got, at least the people I think my age and maybe, when we remember.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't imagine a bad response. So maybe someone that hasn't even seen it, they're like, I've seen photos of those.
Yeah. Right.
But-
I think the only bad responses we get are people who haven't held it yet, so they think, oh, that's just a piece of crap. But if you guys have held it now, it's like it's substantial. And the other is, and we'll all see this in the future, is backlash from filmmakers like myself who use reds and those things, kind of feeling threatened by something like that. Even some cinematographers on my team, they're like a little hesitant because it's like, I'm like, it shoots 4K, man. So does your
Right.
$20,000 camera. This was 500. What's the difference? So there's some negativity maybe.
And delivery
feeling
is
there.
when?
In the early year, so January, February is when we'll ship.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Like post-Kwanzaa.
Yeah, post Kwanzaa. That's
to
how I
know.
like to think of it. And there's a few other features too, like where we're gonna make the handle removable, and then you can put a sport handle on top, so you can get really low skate shots and things like that. So
Just don't make a helmet mount. Yeah,
we're not gonna make
it's
a
going to be
helmet
too much.
we're not gonna make a helmet mount.
The no pro. We call it when it's up here. It's just
Duct tape.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
Any last to wrap it out? You can almost taste the beer on the lips at this point. Yeah. No. Anyone? Well, how about a round of applause, you guys, for all of our panels? Great stuff, you guys.
thanks.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.